This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
Welcome to She Wasn't Born Yesterday for women who are 40 plus fabulous by the Empty Nest Chicks. I'm Janet Evans, ex-M&T Saatchi advertising creative who have won numerous radio and TV awards. Not that that'll affect us because we're doing a podcast.
And I'm Dr. Amelia Haynes, who has been a medical doctor for 30 years and specialising in sexual health and mental health and relationships, and I'm generally a very useful human being.
Well, we'll find out about that, but we are here to work together.
People tell me on good authority that I am.
Really? Yes, well, they never say that to me, so I think we're the perfect hosts for She Wasn't Born Yesterday. Well, here we are talking about life after divorce. But first up, US comedian Rita Rudner once famously joked, "Marriages don't last. When I meet a guy, the first question I ask myself is this the man I want my kids to spend their weekends with?" Very cynical, and there's been a lot of jokes about divorce from comedians for some reason. It seems to be very fertile material. But I don't think anyone we know, or anyone really, walks down the aisle thinking, yeah, this is great, but in a few years, I just think I'm going to get a divorce. People usually marry for better or worse, richer or poorer, and for as long as you both shall live, hopefully. But we know that today around 48% of all marriages in Australia end in divorce.
Which is a huge number.
It's gigantic. I mean, I thought the number had gone down. Today, our next guest is mornings presenter here at Hope 103.2, and he is actually going to enlighten us on a fantastic course that he runs with his wife that aims to help people through divorce. It's the fabulous 40 plus. Are you 40 plus?
I am, yes.
Oh, Ben McEachen.
Is that the bit where I come in? Yes, hello.
We would have thrown you out if you were.
I know.
He looks extremely good, and he could indeed be 39.
He's gorgeous.
No, way closer to 50
gorgeous.
than that.
No, we don't believe you. But even if you are a top-of-the-line, really super wealthy celebrity, divorce seems to be one of the most traumatic experiences in life ever. In fact, there is actual research that says after the death of a spouse, divorcing a spouse is the second most stressful life event of all. And why do you think this is the case?
Oh, well, speaking as an expert on divorce, which I'm not, I've just had, sadly, life experience of I am separated and divorced. So my wife, Amy, and I, we're married now, but both of us previously have gone through marriages that didn't work out for a whole bunch of reasons. So why is divorce so traumatic, you asked? Well, I would have thought that's obvious from the words you were offering up in the introduction of what marriage is, and people, this moment of giving themselves to each other. And I think it's really well described. The second page of the Bible says people leave, a man and a wife, man and woman leave, and the two become one. And so if you look at that picture at its purest sense, marriage is joined and united and so together that if you imagine them ripping that apart, it's totally understandable that people would be traumatized, not just for a week or months, but really for the rest of their life.
It's massively profound,
What is the ripple effect of a divorce? I mean, obviously it's a couple who have decided they've got to that point, look, we just can't make this work anymore, but who else does it affect around them?
Pretty much everybody, don't you think?
I think so.
Every single relationship that is, particularly of maybe not acquaintances, or even then it can affect acquaintances depending on how you respond and then whether they know how to respond or not. And usually most people don't, whether they're the person going through the separation divorce, because they've never done that. Well, most people have never done that before.
No.
Yeah.
And it's hugely confusing and full of anger and bitterness, but also sadness and sorrow and all sorts of confusion going on. So there's the person trying to go through it, and then there's everybody else around them trying to support or not know what to say or not know when to jump in.
And they're not inside what actually happened, nor should they be. So you've got all of that just assumptions about the couple and loss of expectation, and there's all that floating around, even in acquaintances.
Yeah, and so the ripple effects are just, I think, are more wide-reaching than what most people would realise. Even if you stop to think about it, you just may not know how it will affect. And I didn't think about this for years after my first marriage ended. It took me years to think about what my friends in particular would have felt and how they may have tried to talk with me about it or not. But I didn't actually really weigh up the damage it did to them, and I still haven't stopped to ask. I need to actually go and ask them, what was this like for you?
Right.
Because it's a massive change in their world, let alone those who are in the inner sanctum of it, including the kids as well. We haven't even talked about the kids. Man, the ripple effects for kids.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's huge.
I think it is really tricky because sometimes people announce a divorce and it's a big shock. Like their inner circle, their friends have no idea.
Yeah, mine was a bit like that.
Right.
Yeah, because I should have talked about it earlier. I should have been talking more with my ex-wife.
Sure.
We both should have been doing that, and we definitely should have been or could have been talking with more people. So we were those people that sort of came out of nowhere and and now we're separating. Like, what just happened?
The other thing is people think that people getting divorced are going to be happy. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who are happy, but even if you've decided that this is what you're doing, like it must be extremely devastating. It must make you feel really sad, even if you kind of think, I think this is the better decision. Like it must be gutting and disappointing and you must hate yourself a little bit.
I'm always a bit stunned, when you either read about and you nodded to celebrities, for example, who are real people too.
Of course.
And have real emotions and real experiences and real relationships. I'm always a bit stunned that some headlines you see or grabs of people in interviews where it would suggest that they're happier and even maybe both parties have gone their separate ways and it's amicable and all that sort of thing. Even if all of that is true, I'm with you, Amelia, that the residual effects, though, of being in that relationship and now not, and particularly if you signed on the dotted line of I'm going to get married and you did that not thinking that you were going to separate, as you mentioned before, Janet. If you were really deliberately doing that and then it hasn't worked out, surely somewhere within your soul you feel some regret, some lament, but that also could just be hostility, frustration, anger as well, brewing up, all sorts of things. But Amelia, I agree with you. I think you must at least be feeling something that is not akin to happiness somewhere in you, surely.
No. Oh, yeah.
The other thing I've heard is that when you actually do get officially divorced, like it's really fast. So it takes ages and a lot of money to get married. But actually, when the divorce thing happens, it's like tick, done, goodbye.
Yeah, that was one of the saddest days of my life. It was my ex-wife and I were civil in our separation and you have to wait for 12 months. You probably heard this. If you haven't been separated and divorced, which I hope people are not, but if you have been or you know somebody who has been, you probably heard 12 months it takes in Australia to, once you've officially separated, to when you can apply to have your marriage annulled. But you can effectively like chart it to the day and then sign the forms, which is the sad day my ex-wife and I went in front of a justice of the peace and signed this form, which is saying we annul our marriage. I don't know what this lady thought. It's just heart-wrenching, this scene. And then you hand in your form. And then in some court somewhere, some judge on this particular day puts a stamp on and like, well, that's it. It's all over. Now, that's at its kind of simplest, if that's the best expression for getting divorced in Australia.
Yeah.
You're right, it's remarkably quick. However, you would know, at least have heard of people with protracted separation and divorce, usually because children are involved, but also if huge swathes of money are involved or really complicated assets and businesses and all that kind of thing, that can drag on for years and years. But Amelia, it can be devastatingly simple to get divorced in Australia.
Brutal. Well, it's interesting you talk about some celebrities and like very rich people. Like we recently heard about Twiggy Forrest and his wife after 30 years.
Yes.
And, you know, it's like you kind of go, oh, man.
Rupert Murdoch is quite good at it. Did I just get sued? Maybe.
But there are people around that do seem like they're, I was going to say really good at marriage. No, they wouldn't be if they're going back more and more times. And so maybe they are good at being divorced. What's that called? Divorcing. You're good at divorcing.
They must get married with all the best will in the world, I'm sure. Anyway.
Going on there. But I was actually intrigued to read about Melinda Gates. Obviously, she walked away with like mega billions. So you kind of think, oh, come on, it can't be that bad. But she described the end of her marriage like she said, I had a lot of tears for many days where I'm literally on the floor thinking, how can this be? How can I get up? How am I going to move forward? And she said she was grieving a loss of something she thought she had for her lifetime. To me, that was like gutting to read that.
That's more the testimony of people. So the course that you mentioned right at the start that my wife Amy and I facilitate, we didn't create the course. It's an American-based course. It's called Divorce Care.
Yes.
We've run that 6, 7, 8 times or something over about the same year period. And the testimony of majority of people walking through the door who are of all walks of life and ages and stages is more closely akin to Melinda Gates than sort of lightheartedly joking about a sea of people just got divorced, but they probably took home like $1 million or $2 million or whatever, or they got their house on the harbour, so they're probably okay. Yeah. And I don't think that's true. Like I'm sure there are some people where it does seem to be a little bit water off a duck's back. Those people must exist, but at least the people that we've encountered who, they're not married to Bill Gates, let's say, but what Melinda Gates is sharing there, I think should be a bit of a slap in the face, if that's the right term, for people who do joke about marriage destruction, and particularly at a celebrity level, which I know can be a bit of a game show to watch. But if you step back and really think about it like we've been talking about for the past 10 minutes or so, it's an awful thing that's happening in front of your eyes.
It's an awful thing, Ben, by the sounds of it. Absolutely.
And they're like, because I think, Gwynnie and Chris talked about a conscious uncoupling or something.
Gwynnie and Chris, your mates, Gwynnie and Chris. Chris Martin, you mean, from Coldplay, and Gwyneth Paltrow, the actress, got you. Okay. I don't call them that. I'm not close enough.
I was going to say, exactly, Ben, she is an inveterate name dropper. She's
ever
terrible.
Since, we're all about celebrities. That's why we've got you on the podcast.
That's right. What was their term again? The uncoupling?
Conscious uncoupling.
Conscious uncoupling.
Which I think really diminishes it.
It's just bad. Actually, when you said before it's just bad, it sounds awful. And I feel like, once again, that humans are just very judgy. Like we're just so quick to judge how difficult or easy, we're thinking it's easy for people to actually do that thing. I think most people, like you're saying, or that I've heard about, actually find it excoriatingly difficult.
Even if they're getting out of a marriage that's been toxic for some time, and even if some people have got however many years down the track or even months and realised, we're just not who we thought we are. And I'm no fan of divorce, but there's all sorts of situations people are in that they find themselves getting to that point. But I just find it very difficult to believe that it doesn't have a negative effect on somebody. It's just not all sweet. It's not all just like, wash your hands of it and then we're done. Great.
We're
and then you move
onward
on.
and upward.
Even if you are trying to live your best life, and even if you are pursuing your own happiness and all this kind of stuff that we can hear about, if you actually sat down with yourself and checked in, I'm not sure yourself is as convinced as what you may be projecting.
Yeah. So tell us about the Divorce Care course.
Yes.
Who is it for and what does it do?
Yes, tell us more.
Okay. It's been around about 20 years, I think. An American Christian bloke who was divorced himself, didn't find much support around, decided he'll create this course to offer support, not just to people who are Christian, it's for anybody, but it's a biblically based course. But for anybody who's ever done a biblically based course, it's probably less biblically based than many of those courses that you're thinking of at the moment. As in, the Bible shows up, but there's also everyone from psychologists and counselors to people who have sadly gone through real experiences. So it's been through a bunch of different iterations, Divorce Care. It's a 13-week package course. You get this video material, which thankfully has been updated since it first came out. And some of the more cheesy stuff has been taken out and updated nicely, which is good. You get these 13 different topics. And so it's not like the exhaustive list of everything you go through in separation and divorce, but it covers off everything from kids and money to sex to a new partner to bitterness, loneliness, anger, frustration, relationship with God, forgiveness, reconciliation. It's all in there. And so you get like a 20, 30-minute video. Yeah. And then the main benefit, I think, of Divorce Care is more the conversation afterwards. I've not been involved in support groups before, but I imagine they work very similarly to this one, which is you sit around in a group and you talk about stuff that you all share in common, which sadly at this point is separation and or divorce. Because despite what the title says, you don't have to be divorced to come along.
Right.
And a lot of the material actually would be really beneficial if when you're still married.
Absolutely.
I would have I benefited. Well, I would like to have thought I would have listened to it at the time. Maybe I wouldn't have, but it's definitely beneficial for people in their relationships now. But divorce care, we've had people sort of say, I'm not actually officially divorced. Can I come? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. And hopefully it might help not end up with what it says in the title, divorce, because that would be a fantastic thing to prevent.
Yeah. Even I think separation sometimes gets a bad name because separation doesn't have to be an engagement to divorce. It can be very beneficial if treated sensibly by people.
Yeah, most people we've encountered through divorce care, when they're separated, it seems like it has been the track to divorce. But I agree with you, Amelia, it doesn't have to be.
No.
And it'd be great to see it deployed more seriously and significantly by both parties. And one of the struggles that we have with divorce care, facilitating it, because we're not professional counsellors, in case I hadn't made that clear, like we are not professional counsellors. Do not come to us for professional advice.
No, but you're a real human, which is worthwhile enough.
Yeah, but a struggle in the group, for us at least, is we're only getting one side of the story.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
And you're always only going to get that when you have one person in the room.
Yeah.
And sadly, it's not a course that's set up for both parties to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's a downside of the course because, a lot of the materials could help a couple get back together, but you couldn't really have the conversations and what the course is trying to help with, which is largely individual. It's for one person going through this and how it can support and help them through it. But you're still only getting this one side. So you've got to be cautious sometimes about what you can agree with and, whether you ask someone to substantiate something or not, or largely you've got to try not to be judgy, like the word you mentioned before, Amelia. And it can be really hard to not be judgy and just largely let people air what they want to air and then hopefully help guide a conversation that you're not even sure where it's going to end up or what it's going to do. But the main reason of putting on divorce care is that hopefully it will benefit people in some way. I don't even know how. There's not even like a test you can take at the end to say you pass and here's your graduation certificate. It's always awkward when we finish up. It's a bit like, well,
good luck.
We'll see you then. All the best.
See you next time.
There's no ceremony at the end or something.
Try better next time.
See you next time around.
Hopefully never see you again.
Yes, exactly.
We don't ever want to see you back here. Thank you
It's like
very
when
much.
you see a doctor, isn't it, Dr. Amelia? Never want to see you again in professional context. So what's the benefit of being in a group? Is that so you can just know that you're not alone, or is it to actually hear other people's stories and think, oh, actually my situation wasn't that bad? Or,
Probably all of the above. And you're asking the wrong person because when I first went to divorce care, I went as a participant, but I only stayed one night. And because I didn't like the vibe of the room.
Okay.
And I was in a different place than at least what it seemed like other people were in the room.
I hear you totally then.
But I
can imagine that.
But I was wrong in as much as, because then I came to facilitate the course and be there with a group of people in all sorts of different emotions and backstories and complications, all that sort of stuff. I came to realize that it's actually quite good to have people who are in different places, and particularly if it's safe and open enough to be able to share those things, that you could actually offer something positive or beneficial or helpful to somebody else in the room. And likewise, like I might have learned a bit more about possibly tapping into my own anger, which I smother as best I can.
We've noticed that.
Yeah, you've noticed that? Oh, good. Yeah, it's something I'm trying to work on, and like maybe I'll explode soon. But I might have worked out, I know I do have some anger in me and I might want to address that. It took me years to work that out. If I'd stayed in this group, which I found full of angry people, that maybe I might have got to that conclusion a little bit earlier. So it's beneficial then to be with this group, not just because you've got this thing in common and it could be the most painful thing you've ever gone through and you feel isolated and you don't know anybody else going through it. People can find just an instant solidarity in that. They instantly find no judgment from us because we're in the same boat as you. Like it seems to help people to know that Amy and I have been divorced. They're like almost like, phew. Good.
You need not apply to lead the course.
I think I'd be fantastic, don't you?
Well, if you've got any interest in helping people to get through separation and divorce, yes, because like anyone can do it. I think though it does help if you've been separated and divorced. So you could do it even if you had not been, but I'd imagine it's like loads of other support groups that can really help when you're there saying, I've been there, or even if you haven't been there, but you can identify a little bit more what's going on. And both Amy and I did not have children previously with our former spouses, which we see as a great mercy for us and for our former spouses and for the children we didn't have. But we get a lot of people coming to divorce care who have kids, and so we can't really offer anything apart from some learned wisdom from other people that said this about this, and we can share that. But just being able to facilitate with people, offering it to them seems to be enough, the opportunity to be able to share and discuss these things, even if we don't have the answers. And a lot of people actually don't come for answers. Some do. Some have the same questions over and over again, but a lot of people don't come with questions, which is good because we often don't have the answers.
Well, it sounds like it's not really about that. And I'm sure, no hate upon the kind of idea of it, that sometimes you do walk in the room and the group of people just isn't quite as good. I'm sure you've led different groups that have been more functional than others.
Yes.
You know, just,
And that's just like whatever comes through the door and how it goes together. Yeah, that's very true.
Has anyone come to divorce care and then actually resumed or repaired the relationship that they had before?
Not as far as we know, and we don't keep in touch with everybody that we've done the course with, but no, one guy, and this is out of probably 60, 70 people that we've seen, was on the path to reconciliation with his wife. But otherwise, most people, when they arrive, they're at some significant stage, but whether they've been separated for a couple of months or 10 years they've been divorced, they're at a significant stage of it's not looking like it's coming back. So they're people who are looking to have support, but also to heal through this as well. Unfortunately, our strike rate isn't great for helping to repair marriages, but I hope out there, divorce care or otherwise, that's been the case. But we also don't set ourselves up to think that's going to happen. It's a great thing though that even though the course is called divorce care, it's big on reconciliation. Like it's a very pro-marriage, pro-relationship, pro-restoring, pro-forgiveness course. Also, that's heavily anchored in what's your contribution. So one of the through lines through the course is a great refrain of what's your contribution. And even if you are 99.9% in the right and your former spouse did all those things that you're describing, and I dare say that's sadly true in some cases, still, what is it that you brought to this relationship? What is it in you? What could you have done? What might you have done? What could you work on next time, if there is a next time? Divorce care is really big on that, irrespective of how you've turned up in our lounge room.
That sounds really healthy.
How big is forgiveness? Like, I can imagine even if you were very hard done by, or you were the person who, really, really hurt someone and caused the divorce, is forgiveness a massive part of like you forgiving yourself for having done that, but also forgiving the other person if they've done something to you?
Yeah, it's big. Yeah. It's one of the most common issues that people wrestle with. Anger is another one, and or betrayal.
They're closely related.
Yeah. Well, you know this better than me.
Anger and forgiveness, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you work on forgiveness, will that work on your anger? Is that how the relationship goes?
Well, it's like two sides of the one coin, really.
Oh, yeah, actually, I guess it is. Because if you're really angry with someone, you can't forgive them. So you have to find a way to deal with that anger, don't you, in order to be able to forgive them.
None of these things are easy. Like we want the kind of simple take-home, easy one-line message, but, it's complicated and it's murky and it's twisted in on itself, so it's never clean.
And one of the recurring things that when people come to divorce care is they want to know when this will be over or when they'll be healed or when they'll be able to move on. And then another question is, when will I find another partner or when will I be ready to marry again? Those are quite common questions that you get. But then hopefully as people go through the course, which I didn't do initially, as I mentioned, and as I've discovered, as I've done the course several times, what you can find throughout that is those aren't necessarily the right questions to be asking. They're putting too much pressure on yourself. And you're also basically at that point telling God what's going to happen. Also, like you don't know what God's got in store for you.
Yeah.
But forgiveness going through this course, as you keep doing it, you may recognize from all different angles that forgiveness is something that you struggle with, and that could take you years. Like forgiveness isn't often just a one-time only thing. It's a process that you've got to keep returning to. particularly if you're still in contact with your former spouse through children, particularly.
Totally. Yeah.
Like, my goodness, think about how difficult that is for people. One of the good analogies in divorce care is how people can imprison themselves even as they think they're imprisoning their former spouse. So the anger, the bitterness, the hatred that you are directing towards this other person who may not even know you feel like this because you may not even have contact with them, but you are directing this at them and you're thinking like you're imprisoning them in this place where you're keeping them controlled or whatever, but you're still in the prison with them. And they're probably outside running free and doing whatever they're doing, and you're the one stuck inside here. So forgiveness is like the key that unlocks the door that can free you from that prison that you may have imprisoned yourself in.
I suppose it's like releasing control to a great extent, where you do just go, actually, you don't have any control over it.
Yeah, a lot of people realize that through divorce care. Well, just through divorce, actually, not just going through divorce care. They realize through separation and divorce, like going through a global pandemic where everybody's suddenly worked out, oh, hang on, maybe I don't control everything all the time.
That's right. Yeah,
Separation and divorce can, like, sadly and painfully cause you to register that. Again, I think especially when you have children and just the permutations of what can happen in your relationships with your kids and your former spouse. If your former spouse couples up with somebody else, if you do, if they have kids, like the mind boggles at some of the ripple effects that we talked about at the start. I can't even fathom what some people are trying to process.
What about pride too? Because I feel like pride would be involved a lot. Like, I don't want to let go of my anger and hurt because I'm in the right and therefore that person did me wrong. You know?
Yeah, that seems to be a big challenge for plenty of people that we've met. And it must be very difficult when you are in the right. Like, you know, that's a hard thing. That's why forgiveness isn't an easy thing to do, because whether you're right or whether you're wrong, it doesn't change that something's occurred and you actually may need to forgive, or you may even need to seek forgiveness for your part in it. Even if you're like, again, 99% right, you still may have to give over that. You wouldn't want to call it pride, but that's what it is. And a lot of people have pride around, like I did too, around I didn't get married because I thought it was going to fail.
Yeah,
so I was terrified when I realized it was going to. Like, what? Like, I'm this person that really, wow. Like, that's difficult to handle. And then people can feel the sting of betrayal depending on what a former spouse has done, and that can really knock the pride, the self-confidence you had in you. Again, going back to, I find it so difficult to believe that people put a smile on and it's steadily a smile around separation and divorce with the amount of pain from all sorts of different angles that can come.
So you don't think there is actually anything like an amicable divorce, really?
I'd say there is, but it's more, I think you can be amicable with
about
your spouse.
Bad situation.
About what you're trying to do and what we have to do now together.
Right.
Yeah, it's just more whether that equals I'm happy about this and this is amazing.
You can be kind, probably. An amicable divorce might be that largely you're kind to the other person, and hopefully they're relatively kind to you. Yeah, because, you know, it is so horrible. You need to be kind to one another.
Also, I guess when you've been married, you know all the little triggers and buttons that you can push to, really irritate
That's
the
right.
person.
And presumably that's a reason why you're in the situation that you're in now. So it's already there and the pattern's been set. That's another difficult thing for people to undo, the pattern that they're in and the way they relate and the habits they've got, and then trying to unlearn those, undo those. Divorce care, I think, is a helpful place to start working on those, but people can do that in all sorts of different ways. But then even as they work on themselves, that's not necessarily going to change your former spouse.
No.
And may not even change the way they look at you.
No, you can, well, of course you can't. Like, it really is something that you can do, and whatever happens, happens.
You mentioned money before too. Like, how does that come into play? Like,
we usually at the pointy end of dividing up all the assets and the like, but then houses or kids and what you're going to pay for ongoing. So we just meet people who are going through these long court battles, like a lot of talk about lawyers, money, lawyers.
Yes.
And we've heard about some good ones. Some people have said, "Oh, this one's pretty good. They only cost whatever."
Right.
But like for sending an email, it costs whatever. And some of the emails have to go back and forth because that's been court assigned that you can only now contact each other through lawyer channels and emails and all this sort of thing. So the money can be just the ongoing cost of separation and divorce, let alone what it is you're trying to pull apart and redistribute across this fractured relationship.
I know, we think weddings are expensive,
Yes.
but actually getting divorced
is
is expensive.
Yeah, you can really come out of that badly divorce. So some may divorce well, like we talked about earlier. Maybe you do make a killing on it. Other people, though.
So how do you guys, do you have to kind of detox and recover a little bit yourselves as a couple after you do one of these sessions and it might be really intense?
Yeah, a little bit. We've tried to do that more the longer we've been doing it. And even within the groups, it's quite helpful over time. We've learned a little bit more about each other. We talked quite a lot before we got married and during about where we came from and why we don't want to do that again and what we've been trying to work on separately. But the course itself is helpful for us because it dredges up things and you might talk about something for a different angle that you hadn't previously. So that's actually quite therapeutic for us in the conversations. And then afterwards, it's good. And it's not in that kind of way of, I'm glad I'm not that person. It's less of that, and more, wow, like whatever they talked about or what they're going through, or that's a different angle on this. And it raises a different thing about communication or about loving relationships or about whatever it is that can help us in our marriage now. So that's good for us. We just hope when people walk through the door that they don't see us as a married couple who have been through divorce as like poster children for what can happen for you if you get all your ducks in a row, which is not what we did, but we're very grateful that we've been able to marry. But that's not the case for everybody.
Yeah.
Life isn't very neat, is it?
No, it's definitely not
just
lateral.
not very neat.
No.
Yeah. Hey, does anyone get together at your
One of the ground rules for divorce care is to please not. So,
matchmaking.
Everyone's adult in the room, and so you try not to make it like school. But one of the things, such as switch off your phone, there's also, it'd be great if you didn't get into a relationship in this group. If you want to afterwards, that's entirely on your own time and your own business.
Exactly, but leave it for later if you want to try that.
Because this is a place where you and everybody else are trying to heal, and who knows what kind of ramifications may be had if there is even some sort of dalliance during, let alone if it blew up in the course.
I ask because my mind boggles. Like, what could happen for people? Yeah.
But I do know of people who have married after doing a divorce care course.
Right.
That's definitely happened.
Wow.
Yes.
Because they have a lot in common.
Human beings are just very, very driven
and complex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Behave like that and hook up
and horny. So,
Sex does come up in divorce care quite a bit, yes.
Which is good.
But sadly, it's often the negative sides and particularly the way someone's been treated in their marriage. But also on the positive and what people are hoping for.
Right.
You should have me in to tell them the truth.
What's the truth?
Dr. Amelia.
Like, it's true for everyone, though. I think people have very unrealistic ideas about what a good, healthy, long-term sexual relationship looks like.
Right.
We should get you in as a guest speaker.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I was going to say, I'd be delighted.
And I can come in and talk about advertising. Because,
That's like the third question that people have. When they come to divorce care. What about the advertising?
Yeah. How should I market this? Yeah.
Yes, myself. I'm on the market. I need my Tinder profile updated. Ben, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Oh, mine as well. Thanks for having me in.
It was about divorce, which is a very terrible subject.
Yes.
But divorce care is a very positive sounding initiative, and we're just thrilled that you're involved. And how do people actually sign up if they want to do a divorce care course?
There's a divorce care site. Search for it online, and there is a Find a Group button at the top of the homepage.
Okay.
Click on that. Find a group.
Wow. Awesome. Is there like a huge waiting list? Do people?
No, it's more if you, in your area where you are, has a course going at any one time. It tends to be churches that are running it. It tends to then be volunteers that are putting it on. We tend to do one, say, once a year. So that's obviously limited. We're in Sydney. There's maybe like another 5 to 10 courses at different times, but you have to like work out when those times are. So again, going back to the site to try to work it out.
It sounds like a really good thing for a church to get
Fantastic
involved
thing.
in,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, it's been at our church for some time, and when it first arrived, it was longer than 15 years ago. There weren't that many churches, if any, doing it, and that's changed over time. But still, a lot of churches seemingly don't quite know what to do with separation and divorce. We get a lot of people traveling from all over the place to come to not just our church but our group.
Yes.
And one of the things, sadly, that can be common is people have awkward or distanced experiences in their church through separation and through divorce. So it still seems like, and it's understandable, people don't really know what to do.
Yes.
But it'd be great if churches knew a bit more about what to do. Divorce care is one way, but there's got to be others. But just how to love people well through this while you're still upholding how awesome marriage is. And that's a difficult balance to strike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's good that there is something like divorce care and that there is some change in Christian circles, at least from what we've perceived in the time of meeting people and the stories they recount. But it still think could change more in terms of just how do you love well someone who is either separated or divorced.
Excellent question to end on.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ben, thank you so much. It's been incredibly fantastic talking to you, even though you're not a woman, 40 plus fabulous. You are 40
You're
plus
forgiven
fabulous.
for not being a woman.
And,
Yes.
and Dr. Amelia and I would just like to wish you a long and happy marriage.
We would.
Thank you very much. I hope that is definitely the case.
Thank you. We love chatting and we really look forward to all of our special guests and to just chatting with you guys. And we'd actually love to hear from you. You know, we'd love you to send us flowers. I'm a dark chocolate person. What about you? You're protein bar for Dr.
I
Amelia.
am. I'm so healthy. It's disgusting.
But, you know, we'd love to know if there's burning issues for you. Contact us on hopepodcast.com.au if there's issues that you'd like us to talk about or you really want explored or you think you'd be an expert on. Hit us up and come on the podcast. Come on our journey with us. We look forward to your company.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.